Alrighty, so the Rams go out and get Von Miller. So how do we respond? We go out and get Charles Omenihu. That's who. Checkmate LA. Alrighty, Niner fans, welcome back to another episode of Shifty Sports Talk. I'm your boy Shifty. This one goes out to Niner fans near and far, and any NFL fans, this is the place to be. Today, what we're going to talk about is the 49ers actually made a trade. I didn't think they would make a trade at this deadline, but they went ahead and did one. The Niners traded for Charles Omenihu, the defensive end from the Houston Texans. The details as of the recording of the video are not exactly confirmed, but it sounded like there was going to be a swap of late round picks. Very interesting trade. Again, another one that I really wasn't expecting, especially because him being a defensive end, a bit of an edge rusher, and we just got Jordan Willis back from suspension, so a little bit interesting. But let's go into a little bit of background on Charles. He was drafted in the 2019 draft in the 5th round by the Houston Texans. He went to Texas. Good size, 6'5", 280, so definitely on the bigger end of things compared to like the DeFords and the Arden Keys that we have on the defense. Now, he's in the middle of his 3rd season in the NFL, so his first 2 years were pretty solid. First year he had 3 sacks, forced 2 fumbles actually, and then in 2020, last season, had 4 sacks. He's actually played a pretty decent chunk of snaps too. When I was looking it up, in 2019, he's played about 40% of the snaps. Last season, about half of the snaps on the Houston Texans defense, and then so far this year, about 40%. Numbers this year have definitely dipped a little bit. Just hasn't had any sack numbers, and I think probably a lot of that goes down to just the Texans really not having anybody on their defense, and they are just a god-awful team. So it's going to be very hard, for them to generate any pressure. I don't really expect too much from anyone on that defense. However, doesn't sound like we gave up much of anything. The cool thing is he's basically on a minimum contract, and we also actually have him under contract for next year. So that might mean that at the end of this season, we may look to move on from a Jordan Willis or what have you. Now, honestly, this trade, if anything, it doesn't really speak so much as to Omenihu, I think, as a player, but I think it maybe speaks to there's concerns over the defensive ends that are on the roster. At first, I was thinking that maybe they weren't super impressed with Arden Key, who they signed as a free agent who played with the Raiders, but the size difference is just huge. Arden Key's weighs 240. Arden Key ideally is that more of a speed rusher, but he really hasn't been there. Now, the bigger concern might be more on DeForest. So DeForest missed the last game, and that was mostly due to he had a concussion. So he missed the game against the Chicago Bears. It's possible that this is more serious than what they let on. Although, again, kind of like I'd mentioned earlier, DeForest is a very different type of defensive end from what Omenihu would be. The other thing that it could mean is something to the effect of Jordan Willis. So Jordan Willis had his first game back from suspension against the Bears. Didn't really notice him too much, so maybe the Niners were not impressed with him at all, and they might just be looking to move on sooner rather than later from Willis. The other player whose measurables are pretty similar to Omenihu would be Contavious Street, who plays more inside, and that's maybe where they envision Omenihu playing with the 49ers. I want to say that the Texans run more of a 3-4 defense, and he's a DN there, so that could easily translate to maybe more kicking inside with the 49ers defense, but overall, definitely an interesting trade. Again, I did not expect to have to make a video on a trade today because I didn't think the Niners would be super active at all, but they did, so we'll see. Again, didn't give up much, super cheap contract, so worth a shot. And the guy is really young too. I think he had just turned 24, and he's in his 3rd year in the league. So you never know with Coach Kocurek coaching on the D-line, might be able to get the most out of him. And so I'm happy with the move. I think it's again one we didn't expect, but overall got to be happy with it. because now I'm doing a quick video on this, it may push my video for the top 5 uniforms, in my opinion, of all time. I'm going to push that back till maybe the tomorrow night. But yeah, tell me, Niner fans, what you think. Texans fans or NFL fans in general, if you know anything about this guy, then feel free to leave comments. Let me know what you think about him. But yeah, excited to see what he brings to the team, and it's an interesting one, that's for sure. Really much, I guess at this point, all there really is left to say is that I will catch you guys on the flip side.